I'm Stephen Goeman myself, and I work as Service Operations Manager at AXI Digital. AXI Digital is a Belgian-Dutch organization founded in 1985. It has decades of experience in the public sector, healthcare, industry, and retail. Last year, we achieved a turnover of around 100 million euros. This was together with more than 400 clients and an average client relationship of 15 years. AXI Digital itself has about 300 employees, and this is a great mix of seasoned veterans with more than 20 years of experience in the market and young potentials.
That's impressive both in terms of how long the organization has existed, its size, and also how long customers remain clients. 15 years on average that customers stay with you, that's really a long time. Could you briefly explain what actually prompted you to start looking for a new telecommunication solution?
Yes, gladly. At the very end of the year 2019, we successfully migrated from a previous existing platform to Skype for Business. And on top of that, we additionally added a comprehensive contact center solution. And we actually kept that running until the end of January 2024, because at that point, a migration had to take place since the Skype for Business platform was going out of support in that month. Due to certain circumstances, it was delayed a bit, but from there we started looking for a solution. And yes, our previous experience with Skype for Business was not very positive at all, which truly made us actively look for a comprehensive solution that is really easy to use, exceptionally stable, and also consistently offers the necessary and expected reliability.
Yes, because for you, if I understood correctly, there was actually an immediate preference for Microsoft Teams. Can you explain why that choice was made?
Yes, so in our search, we specifically looked for partners with Teams integration because, well, we were dealing with the coronavirus situation. We had to do something about it. And because of Corona, everyone in the organization switched to Teams very quickly. There was an extra layer of complexity with Skype for Business for telephony and Teams for internal chat. But that was actually the reason. Because of Corona, we started using Teams extensively within the organization. Everyone was really happy with it. It made customer contact easy. And from there, we also preferred a solution based on Teams.
Yes. Okay, and you entered that selection process. And what was the deciding factor for you to actually choose Roger365.io?
Yes. From within the organization, since we have several divisions, we selected about 6 employees. With them, we started by looking internally at what within those different divisions, within the various branches of people, groups of people, what the needs and requirements are for a telephony platform. And we pretty quickly realized there was a need for a solution that would allow connectivity from any location on any device without having to set up complex VPN connections or anything like that. And of course, we also wanted the platform itself to provide solid reporting and to be very robust and flexible as a solution. That's how we started looking for providers. There were 4 of them. Among those 4 providers, there was one that still worked with a truly traditional solution, a VoIP telephony solution. And the other 3 used Teams. So we started making the rounds with those different providers, sharing our wishes and needs. And that's how we ended up with the solution from Hansen's Beyond Telecom in combination with Roger365. And that one actually turned out to be the best. And that was mainly because of the very favorable pricing model, but also the approach and the way of working at Hansen's Beyond Telecom.
Yes, so pricing, flexibility. You are an ICT company yourselves, so I assume you also had some smart people take a look at the architecture of the solution. That's right. What do you see as the advantage of the fact that Roger365 is fully integrated into Microsoft, into the ecosystem?
That was actually the adoption by the end users. They were already used to working with Teams, so it really had to be a solution on top of Teams, one that integrates very nicely and closely, isn't complex, and just makes certain things very easy to use. And it was quite clear that Road to 365 could provide us with those things in the area of contact centers.
If you look at today how Roger365 is being used, And then let's immediately touch on the difference between the Dutch market and the Belgian market. Because here we talk about a reception operator or a PC operator. In Belgium, they call it a reception desk. And in the English-speaking world, it's called an attendant. But if you look at how you are currently using it within AXI, how many attendants, how many contact centers do you have integrations? Can you give us an idea of that?
Yes, so today we are using about 6 queues. And by that, I mean specifically those are service desks. We have multiple divisions, multiple service desks. They do work together, but also separately when it comes to customer portfolios. So we have about 6 of them. And reception, we have at least 3 reception desks. That's Breda for the Netherlands and Willebroek in Belgium and Ghent. And actually for the reception, we specifically wanted to move to a single queue because we saw a real need for staffing there. Yes, it needs to be possible to do it remotely, all those kinds of things. And so we really focused on that and it was implemented very nicely. So yes, we have about those 6 queues. And I think just under 50 users on Project 365.
Yes. And also, for example, if you look at the managers, do they also use the reports, wallboards, and supervisor tools?
Yes, those are mainly not really the managers nowadays. But since we are a service-oriented organization with a lot of SLA contracts, so service level agreements with customers, we mainly look in that area for customer support and reporting to those customers. And that is made possible thanks to the excellent reporting available in Road 365. And it is mainly the service level or service delivery managers who actually work with the data from the platform.
If you look at the period since the switch, what are actually the main benefits you have experienced in the business? For example, in serving your customers, since you started using the platform, yes?
One of the most important points, though I probably shouldn't mention it, was that the previous platform regularly caused issues during conversations we had with customers, whether it was an incoming call or a service-related call. The connection would often just drop or be interrupted. It was very difficult then to figure out, okay, who had called us? Because with the call forwarding, we didn't always see the number of the person contacting us. So calling back or knowing who was on the line was sometimes not even possible. So that was really a pain point, and that's something we really wanted a good solution for. And today that is being realized through the solution we have together with Roger365.io. So also during holidays, absences, or certain situations, we needed to be able to quickly adjust queues, both in terms of the number of users, adding people, removing people, adjusting the call flow, quickly making changes like, okay, today we're available until 9 o'clock, that kind of thing. For us, it was also a necessity, and with the previous solution, it was a lot of work. We simply had to log a call with our partner and then wait, so we had to take waiting times into account. And that was one of the things, and we also see this with Roger 365, that we can now act very quickly and independently thanks to the necessary training. From both Hansen's and Roger 365, we can now very easily adjust call flows ourselves. The ability to work location independently, as I already mentioned in the introduction. With the previous solution, we were required to set up a VPN connection to our office in order to use it. We absolutely did not want that anymore. It had to run completely standalone, no matter the location, no matter the device, whether we are in Belgium, the Netherlands, or any other country, it just has to work. And as a final point, this was something really great that we achieved. We thought, okay, let's ask the question and see what the result is. And that was for the queue at reception or the front desk or attendant, whatever you want to call it. We actually wanted to make sure that when we called a customer from any location, the Belgian or Dutch number would be sent along to the customer based in Belgium or the Netherlands, so that the customer wouldn't have to call back to an international number. And that has also been achieved. And that's really a major asset that we've been able to accomplish. We were actually surprised ourselves, wondering, is this really going to work? But I think, yes, it did work. Thanks to the collaboration between the 3 parties, but mainly Hansen's and Roger 365, who have the expertise in-house to make something like this happen.
Yes, truly a great solution. And I can also imagine that leads to a lot less confusion for customers and also creates a sense of recognition. Because yes, even though Belgium and the Netherlands are of course very familiar with each other, But when a Dutch person receives a call from a Belgian number, you're still a bit less likely to pick up than if you just get a call from a number with your own country code. So yes, I can imagine that's important for you. Okay, if we look at, well, we just talked a bit about those SLA reports and things like that. Would you say that for you, Roger 3S5 has also in a way been the foundation for introducing some new or changing services for your customers?
Yes, absolutely. So for us, our service operations are very important to us. So I think that's about maybe 80% of our customers who have service agreements with us. And that's very important, which also makes it necessary to achieve KPIs. And of course, we have to demonstrate those KPIs based on reporting. And what are those KPIs, for example? So that's the response time. How long does the customer have to wait? How accessible are we? All those kinds of things. How long does the conversation last? So those are the basics. That is filled in very nicely. But on top of that, we had a very specific need for a customer in the Belgian government, where we also needed integration directly into a database, a services database, an application database, that kind of thing, where the customer specifically requested certain data, and that went very far. That involved data about who called whom, at what time, how long the conversation lasted, which case it was about, which assignment it concerned, that kind of information. And we were actually able to achieve that through a bit of customization. And again, thanks to the various parties for actually making that happen. And today it really works beautifully and perfectly. So everyone is satisfied and we can actually access the necessary data. If the client wishes, we can provide it either ad hoc or during the monthly or annual meetings with the client.
Yes, that really sounds impressive, what you have accomplished with that. What would you say makes the management of the solution so strong in your eyes?
As I just mentioned, the management they were really amazed compared to our previous solution at how simple and how fast it can be. We have a number of technical people who have received some training and they just get started with it very smoothly. New employees also get up to speed with the platform very quickly. And in that regard, it's really, so to speak, child's play for someone who knows it. It's child's play to make changes in those call flows. And we are really impressed by the text-to-speech for creating messages. Previously, it was always a matter of encouraging someone to have conversations, to record messages. If we needed to make adjustments, we had to go back and change things whenever something changed within the organization. Now it's simply a matter of tweaking the text-to-speech. That really works perfectly. So in that respect, a very strong plus point is the user-friendliness of your application when it comes to management.
In the past, it was indeed either hiring a voice actor or hoping that person would never leave your company. And fortunately, we've been able to leave that behind us. If you look at the past period, are there any lessons learned from that whole process? What would you do differently next time?
Actually, there is little we would do differently. I can only say when we started discussions with Hansen's BO, Telecom, to plan the migration, how are we going to take the final step? How are we actually going to switch over from the current platform to the new platform? Yes, they gave us such a feeling of this is too good to be true, but it really was true. So truly, hats off and huge compliments to everyone who made this happen. If you have a partner who truly thinks along and listens, and on top of that, you have a product that actually does what it promises to do, then it's only logical that you have a success story.
Yes, of course, it's really nice to hear. And absolutely, a big compliment to Hansen's as well. And of course, secretly, we're also a bit proud of our platform. At first, everything is always presented in a very rosy light, but there's always something that goes wrong at some point. And then or where you end up feeling a bit disappointed again. And I find it funny to hear from you that this just wasn't the case at all, that it really turned out exactly as you had expected. So yes, thank you for the first part of the interview. We're going to bring in Tom van Acker from Hansen's. Let's see what he has to say about it. We're here in the studio with AXI Digital. Stephen, good morning. And joining us is Tom van Acker from Hansen's and Beyond. Hansen's and Beyond is a telecom, video, and voice communication specialist in Belgium. If I'm saying that correctly, Tom, could you briefly summarize for us? Who is Hansen's? What do you do? In which area do you operate?
Yes, thank you, Patrick. Indeed, Hansen's Beyond Telecom is a Belgian company that has been active in communication solutions for over 30 years now. In recent years, we have evolved significantly in the areas of contact center environments and service desk environments. We are actually specialized and focused on companies where service desk, front desk, reception applications, and customer service environments are very important to the business. Because bad communication is bad for business, as I always say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nice introduction. And in the end, AXI Digital they were looking for a new solution. In the end, you entered a selection process for that. Stephen, could you briefly explain again? How did you approach that process? And how did those first contacts with Hansen's go?
Yes, only positive things to say about that as well. So with the wishes and needs we had defined internally, we started looking for 4 possible parties, and one of them was Hansen's. And each party was actually asked to organize an on-site visit where they could convince us of their solution, and if possible, to include a demo as well. I can honestly say that Hansen's really stood out head and shoulders above the rest in their approach and involvement. And they also delivered a demo that was fully tailored to all our needs. So yes, it immediately felt right to start the migration. And that feeling has just remained, and it's still there to this day. A really good feeling, excellent cooperation, and a great connection. And if something is actually needed or a question comes up, it's handled very quickly.
And if you look at their approach, what would you say really stands out when you look at Hansen's as an organization? That's really where they excel?
Yes, I think that we ourselves also provide continuous service. And I can actually say that TNA just aligns perfectly with what Hansen's AXI Digital offers. So very fast, very strong technical support. Really working out concrete solutions, clear with a proactive attitude. Yes, and with a contact person on Hansen's side, Tom, who is always available. It's just really nice to work together. And from that perspective, we also say, if that's our experience, why wouldn't we, when customers are looking for a solution, bring them into contact with Hansen's?
Yes, and in the end, you've completed that implementation. And now, today, we're operating in a live environment. So what does Hans add for you now? What role do they still play in your organization?
Yes, right now we have little need for change, but if and when the time comes, they're willing to take a look with us and see, okay, what can be improved or where might we need to make some adjustments. But for me, it's really the complete peace of mind they've given us. We have no issues with that platform. And we only see advantages in the cloud solution they've provided us.
Yes, so you could definitely say that Hansen's truly provides us with an exceptional service level for comprehensive technical support, offering a truly proactive and forward-thinking approach to all our needs. But apart from that significant aspect, I've also heard that your mutual and highly valued relationship has actually reached a completely new and exciting level of collaboration and understanding. Because I heard somewhere that, as far as I know, AXI Digital's clients are now also being referred to Hansen's.
Yes, that's what you just said. If we are so satisfied, then why wouldn't we actually refer our clients who are looking for a solution to Hansen's as well? And that's exactly what we do. So because I can also say, if we look at the migration, I think, Tom, that we completed the migration in about a month from configuration to the day of integration. And up to now, we still haven't had a single interruption. So this is really fantastic and a top-notch partner to work with, both the product and the organizations involved in supporting it.
Yes, sorry about that, Tom, but the one-liner of, I thought this was too good to be true, but it turned out to be true. If we look at that, of course, there are a lot of parties who claim to be specialists in communication solutions. If you had to explain that from Hansen's perspective, Tom, where do you really think Hansen's makes a difference? Where do you distinguish yourselves in the market?
I've noticed, and this has also been a deliberate strategy of Hansen's, that in recent years we've focused even more on communication, and more specifically on the more complex communication, the customer experience side of communication. And I noticed that a lot of colleagues, competitors, and partners have chosen to offer a total IT solution, which is of course fantastic, but we have chosen a certain niche to really go deep into that communication field. And we believe, or we are convinced, that by maintaining that focus on communication systems, contact center solutions, and the like, we can really work in depth, which allows us to truly address the customer's needs and turn them into solutions. And yes, while many companies are involved in communication to some extent, with just over 32 employees, we spend 100% of our time on communication, which, yes, leads to great projects like the one we did with Action, and judging by the satisfaction, that's definitely the case.
Look, what I always find strange in the market is that when we say, well, we have a generic IT company that provides workstations. Well, we're also going to have them do CRM, implement it. Then everyone says, oh, but you can't do that, can you? You can't just have a regular IT company implement CRM, can you? While it's often perfectly acceptable to ask a regular IT company to solve communication issues. With communication, you're talking about the same thing as with CRM. You're talking about business processes and customer contact, and you're talking about how can I serve someone better? How can I help someone work more effectively? So it's often really something that belongs with a true specialist.
Right, and I think that's our strategy and our added value. We don't start from a platform or a product or the replacement of a telephone exchange. These days, telephony is sometimes a bit trivialized as well. Email, chat, WhatsApp, everything has found its own place a bit. But we look at it from the process, from the customer's perspective. What if the service desk at AXI is unreachable for 2 days? I think that would have serious consequences. What if the reception at certain government agencies in certain companies we work for is completely unreachable? So we look for what is needed, starting from the customer's processes. And in certain projects, that's just a part of it. In some projects, it's a very large project, but it's precisely that needs analysis and specialization that allows us to bring the right things to the right partner or the right customer, I think.
Yes, and then you have the technical implementation, but in the end user also has to be able to work with it. So there's also something involving an adoption process. How do you see that?
Yes, a few years ago, we started the Hans Education Department. What's in a name? Ultimately, the idea is that we started involving non-technical profiles in user adoption and change management. For our clients, because clients who often move from traditional telephony to Teams and start working with great systems like Roger need proper training for that. But from a user's point of view, and we actually have 2 people who are working full-time on user adoption training, where end users are being trained. But there's also an element of change management involved. I always say those trainings take place before the migration. And if your employees start waiting for it to be ready and are happy that something new is coming, then for us, user adoption has been successful.
Yes, nice to hear. And as far as I'm concerned, as a final question to wrap things up, you have, as you mentioned yourself, more than 30 years of experience in the industry. Why do you choose to work with Roger 365? What makes it such a powerful solution for you?
As Flemish people, we sometimes get our inspiration from the Netherlands, as I like to say. But anyway, why did we choose Roger 365? I think when we got to know the product, it was already very strong in terms of Teams functionalities at that time. What we found brilliant was the open communication regarding road mapping and features. We had a few ideas to make the product sound even better for the Flemish market, or let's say the Belgian market. Roger actually did something with those suggestions, and within 3 months it was implemented. And you came back to us and said, yes, it's in there now. From now on, you can also bring it to the market. And that's exactly what we did. And that's not always easy with vendors to get ideas from a local or regional market translated to the R&D or development department of the partner. And I think that was a super important factor at the start of our collaboration.
Yes, great to hear. I'd really like to thank you both for this. That's it already. Time really flies by. But I want to thank both of you very much for participating in this customer reference video. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Tom. I hope to see you both again in person soon. And for now, have a good rest of your workday. Thank you.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Stephen.